In this video, we are going to find the maximum number of operations with the same score. Hello, I'm Jagan from growwithdata. I'm posting this video to share my knowledge in Python language with you. If this assists you in your interview preparation anyways, I will be happy. Let's see the sample input data and you can talk about the questions in detail. If you go to the YouTube channel, growwithdata, you can see all the videos related to the Python and SQL. If you click on the video, if you want to see the code base, you can go to the description section. You have the GitHub link in the code and you click on it. It will take you to the GitHub page where it has all the code we discussed in this video. If you want to join the WhatsApp channel, you have a link and you can join the WhatsApp channel. Okay, now let's talk about the question. So we are given an array of integers. You can perform the aggregation operation on the set of two elements. Choose the first two elements of the array, like 3 and 2, and find the sum of those elements. Your task is to find the maximum number of operations that can be performed such that all operations have the same score. You have to return the maximum number of operations possible that satisfies the condition. Like it has to carry the sum of the two elements. Here the first two elements 3 and 2. So sum is 5. So that is the first set. The second set is 1 and 4. The output is 1 plus 4 is 5. So it matches with the sum of the first two elements. So the output will be 2. The third one, even though it's 5, it has only one element. So we are expecting two elements. So the operation stops here and the output has to be 2. If suppose it's going to be 5, 0, then this is the third set which has the same sum of the first two elements. So the output has to be 3. Since we have only 5, so we say it's only two sets of elements which satisfies the condition. 3, 2, 1, 4. So it's always you have at least one set of element. Okay. So the input array will have at least two elements here. And then we have to find the sum of these two elements. Is it repeating in the other set of elements? And it has to be minimum, like it has to be two elements. It can't be one element. If you want to see some other sample, you can get one more sample here, which has num equal to 32614. So here, the sum of the first two element is 5 again. But if you see the sum of the next set of elements, 6 and 1, it's 7, which is not matching with the first two elements. So the output has to be 1. If you see another example, which got quite a few elements, the first two elements, 2 and 2, the sum is 4. But if you see the second element, the sum is 3 plus 2 is 5. So it's not matching with the first element. But if you see the third set, 4 and 0, it's equal to 2 plus 2. But still, there is a break in between, right? So whenever you see a break, you have to stop that loop and return how much ever set of elements you got before. So here, it's only the first two elements matches the condition. So this is what we have to try. So how to do this? So before you start, let's have a discussion on how to use the range function. We normally know when you do it, you say for I in range 10, the I will starts with 0 and it goes till 9. You don't consider the value you have. So when you have range of one parameter, it will consider that as the last value. Okay. If you want to start with any number, by default it's 0. So it has the value start with 0 to 1. Right. So if you want to start with 4, you just say range 4, 10. So the first parameter is the start element, the start number. This second one is the end, which don't include that 10, so it goes till 9. If I want to increment by 2, right, by 4, 6, 8, then I have to say 2. The third parameter is going to be the incremental value. So if you do that, it starts with 4, increment 2, and goes just before 10. So 4, 6, 8. So if you want to include 10, then you have to say till 11. So it goes just before 11. So it gets 10. So we have to know the first one is the start number, the second one is the end, the third one is the incremental value. There is no way you can do the naming parameters. Like you can't say start equal to this, end equal to this, and increment equal to this, right? We can't give the named parameters. If you have some other way to specify, you can just let me know in the comment section. But whenever you give one value, right, it will be taken as the end value of it. If you give two values, for example, you want to start with 11 till and the increment by 2, right? If you do like this, what will happen? The first value will be considered as the start value. Don't consider as the end value. So you do like this, there won't be any values because from 11 it will go up, right? By default it will go with 1, right? The increment value will be 1. So 11, it goes 12, 13, 14, it don't come down. So if you want to go in the descending order, then you say -1. Then it starts with 11 and goes down till 3. So don't consider 2, right? So we can't give the last value and the increment. When you want to give, you give only the end value, or you can give start and end, okay? We can't skip the start value if you have more than one parameter. And as I know, we can't give the name parameter for the range function. So this is the condition we play around with the range. Okay, now how to use this range in our program? Let's keep it like this. Let's go to our programming part where the input array is 3, 2, 1, 4, 5. The output has to be 2. Okay, so how to start? We have a function. We always go with data, grow with data, nums. So we are going to declare two variables. One is the check, which is going to store the sum of the two elements, first two elements, and then the result, which is going to see how many sets of elements which is going to satisfy the condition. Now we go with the for loop I in range. You start with 0 and then you get the length of the array and then increment by 2. So what will happen? It will start with 0 and increment 2. So 0 and 2, 0, 2, 4, right? So you just say, what are the values? Print I. When you call the function, let's see what are the values the I carry. So get 0, 2, 4. So 0, it starts here, and 2 is here, and 4 is here. So it gets the value starting at 0, increment by 2. That's good. So first we have to find the first two elements and then get their sum. How will you find it? We say if the I equal to 0, right? Then we know it's the first set of elements. Then the sum of the first two element is sum of, we can say nums of I, which is 0, and nums of I plus 1, which is 1. So this is one way of doing it, right? For example, you say nums is this, okay? So we say nums of 0, which will give you 3, plus nums of 1, which is 2. So 3 plus 2 is 5, okay? But instead of saying that, we simply say 2 because it won't consider 2. So you say 3 comma 2. So 0 and 1. You don't consider 2. So it will be starting with 0, ends before 2. So 0 and 1, which will be this. And then if you say sum of this element, it will be 5. So that's what we are going to do. So we say sum of the number starts with I plus 2. So I plus 2, for example, I equal to 0. Okay, I equal to 0. We say start with I plus 2. The array will be 3 and 2. Okay, this is what we are going to do here. So we get the first two elements and store the sum in the check variable. and then we increment the result equal to 1. If that is not the case, if it's not the first set of elements, if not the index is not first, if we go into the second one, then what will you do? Else if the sum of the nums, the array, right? The sum of this array is equal to the first two elements sum and the length of the array. So we have to start with I plus 2, right? Just to make sure. If not, it will start with the 0. So I plus 2. If the length of this is greater than 1, I is equal to 2, right? It should be 2, like a 3 and 2 kind of thing. And then 1 and 5. If I equal to 2, so it starts with 0, you get the first two elements. If I equal to 2, then what will happen? It will get 3, 2, 1, 4, right? So what will you do? You start with I, and then I plus 2 will get the second set of elements, 1, 4. So this is what you're doing. So we get the sum of 1, 4, this 5 is equal to the check. Check is the first two elements. And then we get the length of it. So 1, 4, the length is equal to 2, because the next one is going to be 5. If the I equal to 4, then it's going to be only one element, which is the sum is going to be 5 again, but the length is 1, only one element, which is not right. We expect two elements. So we have to have this condition also. If both the conditions satisfy, then we increment the result of variable as plus 1. Else you break. So we don't have to go further if there is a break in between. And we return the result variable. So we have to close this. Okay. So what we did, we first assign two variables. The check will get the sum of the first two elements. The result will be the incremental part. We go with 0 and increment one value 0, 2, 4, 6, and then it goes till the length of the array, and we check if the first index, that means starting with the first element, then you assign the sum of two elements, and then the result is 1. If it's not, if it's going to the second set of element, then we get the sum of those elements is equal to the sum of the first two elements, and the length is 2. It has two elements in that array. Then you increment. If not, you break the loop and return the value, how much ever set you got till now. Okay. So if you want to get with more examples, which we discussed before, you can say assert function. It works fine. This is a simple way of doing it. Now, if you want to change a little bit, like if I don't want to trigger this every time. So every time when the for loop runs, it will check if I equal to 0 or not, right? So how will I reduce this? Instead of assigning the 0, I simply say this can be sum of this, right? So sum of 0 and 2, okay? So you will get, if you say nums of 0, 2, it will get the first two elements. Where is it? We overwritten this. Okay, nums is this, and if we say nums of 0, 2, we'll get the first two elements, 3 and 2. So we get that sum, and the result we say as 1. So we did this part here. Okay, we don't have to repeat it. But when you start with the loop, you don't have to go 0. You start with 2 here. These two are considered. So we have to start with the next point, 3, 2, then 1, 4, 5. The index is 0, 1, 2. So you start with 2 and then you do it. Since we delete the if, you start this as if, else you break the same condition. So it works. So we completely remove the if condition, which triggers every time, which is not required because we did that here. So this is the neat version of the code. Now I'll add up one more. Instead of this for loop, I can go for the while loop. So before going to the while loop, I'll tell you two more functions, which is remove and pop. If I want to remove the first element, I say nums dot remove. You have to say the first element, whatever the element is. Now, if you say nums, it will remove the first element. If I want to remove 1, which is 0, 1, 2, the index is 2. Okay, 2, it will remove 2. So 3, 2, 4, 5. There is one more function, which is pop. If we say pop without giving any index, it will remove the last element. Okay, we have seen in previous videos, we use pop to remove the last element. But if I want to remove a particular index, I just give the index name, index position. Like 0 is the first element and it will remove the first. If I want to remove 1, so 0, 1, 2. So the index position is 2. So it will remove 1. So I prefer pop rather than remove because I have to put the array and the index position rather than I just directly give the index position. So I prefer pop to remove any of the elements. Now how to use this in our code? Let's see. We take the same part here. We get the initial phase of it. And then once you use that elements, right? We use 3 and 2. We just delete those. How will I delete it? Nums dot pop 0. And if I want to remove the second one, I do this. How comes it's 0 and 0? So if I say pop 0, what will happen to the nums? And again, if I say pop, what will happen to the nums? Let's see. So first time when you do pop the first element, it delete 3. So it will be 2, 1, 4, 5. So next time it pop 0, that's the first element. And then it comes 1, 4, 5. So whenever you delete, the index has been reassigned to the next element. So when you do pop, pop, and one more pop, we'll remove the third element, right? So that's what we're doing. So we read 3 and 2 and we pop both. And then we say while the length of the array is greater than 1. So if it's 1, there is no point, right? It has to be 2 or more. If that is the case, then we check if the nums of 0 plus nums of 1 equal to the first check here. If that is the case, the sum of the first two elements, then you increment the result by 1. If not, you just break, which you had done that before, right? If not, you just break. And then you come return the result. So instead of 0 and 1, you simply say colon 2. So however you want to, okay? And when you call the function with all these test cases, it has to work. No syntax error. Oh, we have pop. So we have to pop after you read. If not, this is going to kill. So once this is checking every time, you pop the two elements. Still not showing up. So if it's greater than 1, then nums 0, 1 is equal to check, the result plus 1 is break. You return the result. So let's check what happens to the nums. Okay, so it goes here, check sum of this and result equal to 1 and we pop. We check what happens to the nums here. Is 1, 4, 5. It comes good. So greater than 1 if nums 0 and 1 equal to, oh, sum of nums, right? So we say sum of nums. So it pass. Careless mistake. So we don't, this is how you debug. Just print wherever you want and you can just track what is happening and it's good. So what we did, first you get the first two elements, you get the sum and you pop those, and then you get from the index 2 and check if it matches with the first two elements sum. If that is true, increment the value. If not, you break. So if you increment the value, then you pop and then you return the result. So the problem is kind of simple. Only thing is you have to understand and you can go with whatever the way you want. This is looks so elegant and simple, but if you want to do with pop, then you can use the while loop. If you are comfortable with while loop, you can try this, but I prefer the for loop on top. So hope you like this video. Thanks for watching.